afternoon. That was entirely weak. Let's try that again. Good afternoon. All right, I grew up in church. You gotta talk back. All right. So it's so nice to see so many of our supporters in one space. Thank you so much for making the time to be here, both in person, also virtually. What's up, Grandma? As Sydney mentioned, my name is Jennifer Ward, and I have the privilege of launching the Tacoma program alongside the best team a girl could ask for. Tacoma team, wave your hand, shout something so they can see you. Now, while the Tacoma program is new, my personal journey at Rainier Scholars actually started back in 2003. I started at Rainier Scholars as a freshly minted UW graduate, where my Huskies at. I had just earned an engineering degree, and Rainier Scholars was one of my first 2 job opportunities. Much to my dad's chagrin. He couldn't understand how someone could work so hard in engineering school to pursue a job in education. But he's come around since then. One of the major challenges we were working through in these early years was recruiting and retaining multi-generational African American scholars and families, or MGAA for short. And that's just our way of saying Black families who have been in the US for several generations. For this particular demographic, things just weren't working. The number of MGAA families applying to the program was dropping year to year, and we were struggling to retain them in our program. And like many people or organizations, in the early stages of developing an anti-racist lens, we initially looked everywhere else except ourselves. We were asking ourselves questions like, were we not attracting the right students? Were these families prioritizing other things over this particular opportunity? Or did they just not want it bad enough? To contextualize, this was the early 2000s, so this was long before the woke movement. It was way before there was a Trayvon Martin or George Floyd. We simply were not in a place as an organization where we could grapple with the nuance of different communities needing different things. We struggled at that time to understand that when you see disproportionate patterns in your data, it may be the system that needs fixing and not the people. And at that time, we were not ready, or perhaps not fully willing, to be bold. Fast forward to today, I'm so proud to work for an organization that continues to develop its anti-racist lens and push against the status quo, comfortability, and the way things have always been. I'll share a few examples of our evolution of being bold. Launching Rainier Scholars Tacoma was a bold move, and not just because they hired me. We've been very successful working in Seattle, Highline, and Renton school districts, so it really would have been easy to just stay in that lane. But through the work of our 2020 strategic plan, our team made the bold decision to deepen our impact and expand our reach by branching out to a new region. And I want to give another shout out to Tacoma Public Schools Superintendent Josh Garcia, Amanda Scott Thomas and her team. They've been incredible partners and champions of our work. Developing a public school model was a bold move. While Seattle and Tacoma have the same mission and vision, the approach to accomplishing our mission is where each program differs. Our Seattle program offers a model where students pursue both public and private school options. But in Tacoma, we're building a model meant to support students through the public school pathway from elementary through high school. Embracing an equity lens in our program design is a bold move. The framework we use to do this is called Targeted Universalism, and it was developed by John A. Powell out of UC Berkeley. It basically means using targeted goals to accomplish universal outcomes. The curb cut is a great example of targeted universalism in action. The curb cut was first introduced to the US, in the US, after World War II, because disabled veterans were returning home from war and couldn't easily access sidewalks. After lots of advocacy and lobbying, curb cuts are now a normal part of our everyday lives, and everyone benefits from them, not just those whom they were designed for. We're designing the Tacoma model for those furthest from opportunity, which for us means centering multi-generational African-American scholars and families in order to produce the best outcomes for everyone we serve. If you're interested in seeing what that looks like, come check us out on a tour. We would love to have you. While I'm excited about all of the bold moves happening across Seattle and Tacoma, there's still so much for all of us to do. And I'm using the collective us, which includes all of you. But to ground us a bit, I want to acknowledge that we're living in a time of heightened violence. The World Health Organization defines violence not just as the physical use of force, but also the way that power is used against a group or a community. So this includes the way that power is used to uphold systems of oppression. Think about it. Roughly 1 in 3 children in the US cannot read at a basic level of comprehension. Black people hold only 4% of wealth in the US, despite making up 3 times that percentage in population. There is aggressive disagreement about what a fact is and which histories can be taught in the classroom. And this doesn't even start to touch on the more overt acts of violence. We've had 147 mass shootings this year alone and 377 school shootings since Columbine in 1999. I've talked a lot about how Rainier Scholars will be bold, but to counteract a system of oppression means all of us have to be willing to swim against the current in our respective areas of influence. Now, I know this is a fundraiser, so let me be clear. Yes, you can be bold with your checkbook. But what I'm really asking all of us to think about is about being bolder than that. How will you be bold with your time, your talent, and your treasure? How will you actively uplift those furthest from opportunity on a systems level? Let's work together to get beyond the mission of Rainier Scholars so that we can start to realize our vision: a just and inclusive society with equitable representation of people of color at all levels of leadership and influence. Thank you.